introduction comes to you courtesy of Miami University.
The Miami University Television presents the high school football game of the week. Tonight from Barnett Stadium in Middletown, it's the Middletown Middies against the Princeton Vikings. And good evening, this is Bob Long along with Greg Christopher. Tonight we're going to see a battle of the number 2 team in the state of Ohio, the Princeton Vikings, against the number 3 Middletown Middies.
That's right, Bob. The Middies have faced 3 very tough opponents in their first 3 weeks of the season, but they haven't seen a team as tough as Princeton. And the Middies head coach Jim Place is worried about the Vikings getting out of the gate early.
I think number one, Princeton comes out of the gate so fast. We've got to be in the game in the first quarter. I mean, we've got to be at least even at the end of the first quarter, and we've got to contain it. They always look for a weakness in what you do, and we've got to make sure that they don't exploit any weakness that they can find in us.
When you think of offense for the Middies and the Vikings, you think the running game, and that could be one of the key issues tonight. Will anybody be throwing the ball?
Both of these teams are very, very much run-oriented. For example, Princeton has thrown the ball 14 times in their first 3 games. But head coach Pat Mancuso of the Princeton High School Vikings says that the Vikings may have to go to the air a little bit more because Middletown's defensive line is so tough.
We'll probably both have to throw the ball a little more tonight because the defense will necessitate that. I think that's one of their strengths, is their defense, and it may force us into throwing the ball some.
Middletown and Princeton are 2 schools that are rich in football history, especially in recent times, and a lot of players go from here onto the college rank.
If there were ever 2 high schools that are football factories, quote, in high school, it's got to be Middletown and Princeton. Each year, I would say, these 2 schools are going to produce about a dozen college football players. In recent history, Chris Carter in the NFL right now and of Ohio State fame was probably the most famous that they can come up with. But head coach Jim Place of the Middies thinks that he's got 3 running backs that are very tough players this year. You guys need back there.
We've got 3 outstanding running backs, Johnny Calhoun, Lamont, and Carson Smiley, and one of the problems we have is which ones get to play the most. So that presents a problem for us, but it's a good problem to have, and we'll take it, and it allows us to have a fresh back in there every time.
While the emphasis of this game is going to be on running the football, there are other aspects, though, that are going to be very vital tonight as well.
Both the teams run a lot, but the kicking game is very vital in any high school game, and it's something that's really forgotten, especially because you see a lot of second and third team players usually for both clubs. But the Vikings coach again, Pat Mancuso, feels that the kicking game could be very vital tonight.
You know, one thing coaches always talk about, and yet they sometimes just give lip service to, but it's so important, and it probably will be that way tonight, is the kicking game, some phase of the kicking game. You know, last week they returned a punt or a kickoff that went all the way to win a ball game for them against Fairfield, a good Fairfield team. And they have a very good kicking game. We have what we think is a good kicking game. And I think that'll be a big factor tonight.
And it's a beautiful night for football here in Middletown's Barnett Stadium. The rainstorms have passed through the area. Rather windy tonight. Temperature in the 60s at game time, and we're expecting a sellout crowd. And, of course, Greg, you'd expect nothing less when you've got 2 teams like Middletown, as we said earlier, ranked 3rd, and Princeton, number 2, but always right up there in contention for state championships.
Yeah, Middletown's going for their 2nd straight GMC championship, but Princeton has won 4 state titles. And Pat Mancuso looks like he may have a team this year that could do it, especially in the backfield with Lamont and James Olverson. Those are 2 players that are state championship caliber players. They're college caliber players, and they're only juniors.
The thing that we won't or have not seen out of these 2 teams so far now, as Pat Mancuso said we might see more of it tonight, is the passing game. Lamont Houston, who is quarterback for Princeton, has only put the ball up 14 times and completed 5. On the other side of the line of scrimmage, C.C. Kindred of Middletown has only thrown the ball 19 times and completed 8. So neither one passing proficiency, but again, you have some running backs who've had some outstanding seasons already just through these first 3 games.
It's something like we saw last week in the Toledo-Miami game. Why pass it when you don't have to? That's what these 2 teams feel like. You know, they've got the running backs that they can just jam it down the other team's throats, so they just simply go out and do that. As Princeton was walking off the field in their pregame warm-ups, Pat Mancuso said something to the effect, this wind is going to be a factor tonight. They mentioned it in the pregame. The kicking game for neither one of these teams is that good, but we're going to see a receiving team for the Princeton Vikings that is a very explosive kickoff return team, as is Middletown's when they returned an 82-yard touchdown last week against Fairfield.
We'll have Fred Brown and James Olverson back deep for Princeton to take the opening kickoff, as the Vikings, the visitors, will be receiving to start this big Greater Miami Conference football game. Middletown coming off that big victory last week over Fairfield. And by the way, this week, 4 of the GMC teams are ranked in the top 20 in the state of Ohio, which tells you something about the strength of this conference. Coming to Olverson's side, right at about the 20, fumbles it, and then breaks it to the outside. He's got a lane. One man to beat the kicker, and he's tripped up at about the 36-yard line. Whether that's Tony Everhart, a defensive back who came up there on the special teams to knock him down, but it looked for a minute like Olverson had a real lane to the outside.
That's right. Last week against Fairfield, Daryl Monti for the Middies returned a kickoff that was a key kickoff that when Fairfield was getting some momentum, Middies came back and got the momentum right back. It looked like Princeton could get the momentum right there, but instead they have the ball at the 35-yard line.
And Olverson, who just brought that kick out to the 34-yard line, is one of the starting running backs tonight, along with James Gatewood and the quarterback, junior Lamont Houston. And he's going to put it up right away tonight, going deep, but incomplete. The pass intended down there for Montgomery, but overthrown, so it'll be second down, or rather make that Chenault the tight end, Curtis Chenault. The interesting story here, so far this season, of the 5 pass completions, Chenault is the tight end. He's caught 3 passes so far this year.
The Middletown defense, those front 7 players, those are the strength of the defensive unit for the Middletown Middies.
Second down, Houston pitching it out, but a very short gain out there that time for James Gatewood. Gatewood comes into tonight's ball game averaging over 9 yards per carry.
Gatewood, 6 foot, 190. He's a senior. He's one of the players that Mancuso feels he's a MAC-type player. He could play for a Mid-American Conference-type team. He's not big enough or fast enough to play for a Big Ten caliber team, but he's going to be playing college football next year.
Actually might have lost about a yard on that play. Call it third down and 11. Ball's right at the 35-yard line, just underway. First series of downs here in this Middletown-Princeton showdown. Back to pass again. 2 passes in 1 series. Batted down, incomplete. Back there on the defensive coverage for Middletown that time was Daniel Colson. And the pass is knocked down, incomplete. So, Greg, here we have a team that's thrown the ball 14 times all year and put it up 2 times in the first 3 plays.
The last 2 weeks, both of the teams that we've been covering here have made us look like we don't know what we're talking about. Toledo came out last week running the ball exclusively, and this week Princeton comes out passing the ball 2 of the 3 first times, trying to catch Middletown napping.
So Princeton forced to punt after losing 1 yard on its first 3 plays. Nice high punt, fair catch signal for and taken right at the 35-yard line there by Denny Mason, who is one of the wide receivers for the Middies. So Middletown with excellent field position for their first offensive possession of the night.
Something Jim Play said before the game was that the Middies have to get a good, strong start because Princeton is a very strong team right out of the gate. And it's this backfield for the Middies that's going to be put to test immediately because Princeton has a great front 7.
The quarterback, C.C. Kindred, a 5'11 senior, 185-pounder. Has the Middies with a 1st and 10, and here's a handoff immediately. Good hole and a good gain that time by John Calhoun as he gets around 4 yards on the carry.
Calhoun is a 230-pound running back. He's a senior, and Play says he's being recruited coast to coast by almost every big team in the country.
It'll be 2nd down and 6 as he picks up 4 yards on that play. We'll also see a lot of Carson Smiley tonight, as well as Daryl Monte in that backfield for the Middies. Right now it's Smiley in there with Calhoun behind Kindred. Handoff gets very little gain into the middle there for Calhoun that time, maybe about a yard. So it'll still be 3rd down and about 5 yards to go for the Middies.
On the right side of the offensive line for the Middies, they've got a tackle that weighs 255 pounds, number 73, Dan Rourke. He's the leader of that Middletown offensive line. He's another college-bound player. Middletown has produced some really quality offensive linemen over the years.
3rd down and 5, and this is a situation these two teams aren't used to, is these 3rd and rather long situations that oftentimes force you into the passing game. As we said, Middletown doesn't throw much either. They're going to throw this time, and here it is. Complete out in the flat to Denny Mason, and he has enough for a 1st down. Mason had 3 catches coming into the game on the first 3 games of the season.
That's a play that Middletown ran last week against Fairfield that ended up for an 82-yard touchdown. It's a quick step where Kindred comes out, a 3-step drop, and especially the Princeton defense is playing up so tight. It's almost like a Chicago Bears defense where they've got 8 people up, only about 4 yards against the line of scrimmage. We're going to see that play again tonight, I'm sure again, and look for Middletown to try and pop it for a long touchdown pass.
So he got that ball out to the 47, 1st and 10. Big handoff to Calhoun. He busts through that offensive line for about 6 yards. Jason Whitehead came up to make the stop for the Princeton Vikings, but he gained about 6 yards, and right now the Middy offensive line is doing the job.
The guy that did the job on that play was the center, James Stewart. He looped around, got his linebacker, and opened the hole for Smiley there.
So at 2nd down, we'll call it about 5 yards to go as they are into Princeton territory for the first time tonight with just over 9 minutes left here in this first quarter. Of course, in high school ball, we play 12-minute quarters. Calhoun already 3 rushes for 10 yards in tonight's game. And he's coming up the middle again. This time he battles his way down to about the 42, and he's going to be very close to 1st down yardage. Didn't look like when that play started, Greg, it was going to go much of anywhere.
Something that's very interesting that Middletown is doing on their offensive line that they didn't do last week is that look at the spreads that their offensive linemen are getting. You're seeing their offensive linemen spread out. There's a good 1.5 to 2 foot gap between each one of their offensive linemen. Thus, what they're doing is spreading out the Princeton front 7 and making it tougher for the Princeton people to gang up on a tackle.
Larry Williams was in on that last stop from his defensive backfield slot, and he did get enough for a 1st down, so Calhoun off to a good start. 1st and 10 at the Princeton 42. Kindred down the line of scrimmage, going to keep the ball and pick up about 3 yards before he's brought down on the far side over there. Jamie Phillips up from a linebacker slot, gain of about 3, 2nd down and 7.
Kindred last week, that 73-yard touchdown pass was the pass that I talked about just about 3 plays ago. It wasn't something fancy. It's not, a 73-yard pass. The graphic makes it look like he's Dan Marino or something, but it was just a real quick 3-yard, 3-step pass, and the wide receiver is the one who turned it into the 73-yard touchdown.
So it's 2nd down and long for the Middletown Middies driving on their opening possession. They stopped Princeton on its first possession on 3 plays and out. First handoff this time to Smiley. We also have our first flag of the ball game. So we'll see how that affects the Middies, who got a lot of penalties in their last ball game against Fairfield, even though they pulled that one out.
I was about ready to say, there's the first penalty of the game, but if things hold to form for Middletown, we should see about 10 more flags. Last week they had 160 yards in penalties.
And this is going to be a big one that's going to be stepped off the Middies, a drive killer type of penalty. You don't mind the 5-yard illegal motions, but the 15-yard step-offs will really cause you a lot of problems, especially if you're not a passing team.
Last week against Fairfield, we saw time and time again where the Middies had the Indians down. They could put them away, but yet they kept making stupid penalties and letting Fairfield back into the ball game.
That clip takes the ball back to midfield. Now they have to get to the 32-yard line to pick up the 1st down. Here's the pitch out. It's Calhoun. He gets about 8 or 9 of those yards back, but it's still going to be a long yardage situation for the Middies on this play.
The offensive linemen are doing the job for the Middletown Middies, but somebody who usually goes unnoticed, or a position that goes unnoticed, is the downfield blockers, the wide receivers. We may be able to see him here. Calhoun, look at this. He gets about 5 or 6 yards on his own, and number 58 for the Middies, their left guard, and that's Ron Prince. He gets out there and he's throwing a lead block, and then Calhoun fights for about 3 on his own. Josh
Johnson made the stop, but it's going to be 3rd down. The Middies need to get to the 31. They're right now at about their Princeton 42-yard line. Kindred back pass, steps up. Now he's going to run with the ball, but gets back to about the 35. It's going to be a 4th down. They're still going to need about 3 or 4 yards to pick up a 1st down. That's one of the few times you'll see Middletown go into a straight drop-back passing set. A lot of times you're going to see a quick rollout pass or just a quick 3-step drop.
Good defensive secondary coverage by the Princeton Vikings there.
So Kindred couldn't find anybody, and it's going to be a 4th down and about 3 yards to go for the Middies.
And Middletown's going for it. At least it looks like so far.
Kevin Cunningham coming in, apparently with a play from Coach Jim Place on the sidelines. So the Middies are going for it. 4th and 3 at the 34. Denny Mason flanked to the near side. And as we said, big play here early in the ball game, and Kindred wants to put it up, throws it out in the front. Calhoun is wide open, all the way down inside the 20, and down to about the 10-yard line. A big play for the Middies. So the flipping penalty doesn't hurt them on this one as they come back with a gutsy 4th down call and get the 1st down.
Jim Place really set the tone of this ball game early. Instead of playing it conservatively and trying to knock Princeton back deep into their own territory, he goes for it. That is a great play call there.
Actually got it down to the 17, so a 17-yard gain on the pass to Calhoun. 1st and 10. 6 minutes left in the 1st quarter. C.C. Kindred with a big pass completion there. Down the line, and thought he fumbled the ball. I think he did, and recovered it right at about the line of scrimmage.
Getting back to that last play, the screen pass, as that play was developing, I was thinking, what is Jim Place doing? He's going away from his bread and butter, the running game. But yet what he was doing was he was going to a very conservative pass, something that's very easy to complete. But he's still using his bread and butter as running back, because as soon as Calhoun touched the ball, it's Calhoun again getting the yardage.
Kindred, who we told you was 8 for 19 going into tonight's game, has hit 2 for 2 on the passing game so far. So 2nd down and 9 for the Middies. Actually, after the fumble, they pick up the yard on the play. Kindred to Calhoun, and he's down to about the 12-yard line, so it's still going to be 3rd down and long on that situation. Gain maybe about 3 yards on that last play.
Kindred did a nice job there faking that Smiley could still get the ball, because it froze the defensive end for the Vikings, Josh Johnson, and the outside linebacker.
So the ball's at about the 12-yard line. We'll call it 3rd and 6. So far, Calhoun 6 carries and 27 yards. So he's been grinding it out on this drive, which started back at the Middies' 35-yard line and has taken up a lot of the 1st quarter. We're almost 8 minutes deep into this quarter.
Middletown wants a timeout.
They aren't going to get it. Here's Calhoun. He's trying to break a tackle. He's going to be real close to the 1st down. Charles Williams had him by the foot and would not let go. So it may require a measurement. We'll wait and see. He stretched out nicely on that end of that play. It didn't look like he would get to the 1st down sticks.
That is why Calhoun is a big-time running back. He gets a lot of yardage on his own. Yes, the Middletown offensive line is great. They get him the first 3 yards, but then it's Calhoun after that that gets the yardage on his own.
It's going to be 4th down and 1, and it looks like the Middies aren't going to chance it here. They're going to go for the field goal. Brian Caldwell will be in to attempt this one. It'll be from the 15, so make it a 25-yard field goal attempt. Ball is spotted, kick is on its way, and it's perfect. So, 3:46 left in our 1st quarter here at Barnett Stadium, and the Middletown Middies draw first blood with a nice 1st quarter drive against Princeton, and they lead the Vikings 3-0.
Very parallel situation that we saw last week, where Toledo took the ball, just drove it right down the length of the field and scored. Here, Middletown gets the ball early. They just drive right down the field. And last week also, Randy Walker had a 4th and 1 situation where he could go for it or kick the field goal. He elects to go for it. Here, Middletown decides to be safe, get on the board early, because as Jim Place said before the game, the most important thing in this ball game is that Middletown draw first blood and stay even with Princeton early until late in the game, and hopefully then Middletown will be in a position to win the game.
Well, let's see if Pat Mancuso tries to change his strategy. The first time he came out throwing the ball 2 out of 3 times. And I'll bet we'll see something a little different in the 2nd series here. 12 plays and 60 yards on that drive, but look at the time of possession so far. They took up about 7 minutes, a little over 7 minutes on that drive.
We've only got about 3.5 minutes left to play in the 1st period. Princeton's only had 1 drive, and it was 3 and out. They'll probably use up even more than that getting down the field if they want to score.
So the Middies getting ready to kick off with 3:46 left in this quarter. Caldwell, who just booted the field goal, will take this one down the field, going in the direction of Fred Brown at about the 6-yard line. Right up the middle. He's tripped hard at about the 25-yard line. And the Middies are fired up right now with a nice stop on that play by Jeff Gann, one of the regular defensive backs for the Middies.
One person to watch on the Middletown defense is number 36, an inside linebacker by the name of Chris Wells. He's 5'11", 200 pounds, a little small for a linebacker, but he really stops up the middle for the Middletown Middies.
Lamont Houston, James Olverson, and James Gatewood, the backfield for Princeton, their second possession. They'll come right up the middle, but little yardage there for Gatewood, and it looked like we had a fumble, but Princeton got the ball back. But the Vikings finding the going tough in the middle of that Middletown defensive front four.
I think it was number 88, Rob Beechler, who really got in there and made the stick. That's a hard hit right there. And then number 95 for the Middletown Middies there, Jermaine Trammell adds something just to put him down.
Second down and long after that fumble, and again, Houston keeps the ball in the option and is dumped right at the line of scrimmage. So third down, and again, the kind of situation Princeton does not want to face, those 3rd and 10s and 3rd and 9 type situations.
Very similar game to what Middletown played last week. They stopped Fairfield the entire first half. Fairfield they couldn't get an offensive drive even started in the first half, but then in the second half, Middletown really let down. We'll have to see if this game goes the same way as last week's game did for the Middies.
Earl Haley and Aaron Williams in there at wide receiver. The pass thrown out here in the flat is complete to Olverson, trying to scramble around, little blocking. He's going to get maybe back to the line of scrimmage, and that is about it. But there was tremendous pressure on Lamont Houston that time by the Middletown defense. John Duncan gets the tackle.
It was designed that way. It was a screen pass, just like what Middletown ran just a few plays ago. But that time it broke down because number 95 again, Jermaine Trammell, he was the one who stopped it, forced the play back inside. Jermaine's a little too slow to get in there and make the tackle, so somebody else mopped up for him. But Trammell was the one who instigated the stoppage of that play.
So it's 4th down and another punting situation, and Middletown to get the ball back probably around midfield. And once again, the fair catch made there by Denny Mason at the 42. So the Middies start one drive at the 35. This time they'll start at about the 42. And you can't ask for better field position than that. So far for Princeton, it's been 6 offensive plays and 2 punts. And very little yardage gained.
And the Vikings are having a tough time. Their offensive line, just like Fairfield's last week, Fairfield had a little bit of an undersized offensive line, had a tough time moving the Middletown players out. Princeton has a bigger offensive line. They're going to have to figure out some new blocking schemes to get these guys out of the way.
So it's a 1st down and 10. Pitch out, and this is the man we talked about earlier that's going to probably see some action tonight, Darryl Monte. And he picks up a couple of yards out across the 45 to about the 46. A gain there of about 5 yards. Jamie Phillips up from a linebacker slot to stop him.
Before the game, Jim Place said the toughest thing he's got to do on his team is get enough playing time for all 3 of his big-name running backs. That'd be a nice problem to have.
Yeah. Most coaches would like to have that problem.
They'd like to have one good running back.
So right now you've got Calhoun and Monte in there behind Kindred. Handoff, and that one goes nowhere. This time Princeton stuffs the running play to Calhoun. The first time they've really shut him down tonight. Corey Glass was in there to make the stop, and he really blasted into him right at the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, Glass was the first person just simply because the offensive line broke down. They got away with a holding penalty there also.
So it'll be 3rd down. He actually lost about a yard on that play. Call it 3rd and 6 at the 45-yard line. They need to get to the Princeton 49 to pick up the 1st down. Now Kindred is 2 for 2 passing so far tonight. Denny Mason is his one wide receiver, Pinson the other. Draw play, here comes Calhoun. He's close to 1st down yardage with 2nd effort. He'll be very close. Mike Zeller's on the stop.
If they don't make the first down here, it's because of one player, Corey Glass, who stops up the center. Right there, 98. He really didn't make the tackle, but he was a linebacker who didn't bite on the fake. A lot of times when they run that draw play, they're expecting the linebackers to drop back into their passing lanes. Instead, Glass held his ground. He saw that the running back, Calhoun, was staying back there, and it was going to be a draw. He stayed up, stopped up the middle, similar to the way Jermaine Trammell did earlier for Middletown.
And that's the end of the first quarter of play here at Barnett Stadium. Our score, the Middletown Middies leading Princeton 3-0. Middies will have to be punting the ball away as they came up just shy of first down yardage here. 4th down and 1. Ryan Caldwell, who made a field goal, will be on there to do the punting for the Middies. So Princeton's going to get the ball back for the 3rd time tonight, and we'll have to see if they can do a better job this time around than what they did on their first 2 series.
Middletown wants timeout, and Jim Place is really ticked off.
Looks like he wanted to maybe bring the offensive unit back on the field. It looks like a lot of the offensive players are going back out there, so you wonder if he's going to gamble here on a 4th down and 1 yard to go situation right at the midfield stripe, or maybe try to draw Princeton offside, and if that doesn't work, bring on the punting unit.
He did earlier, but to show you, we've been through one period now, just how dominating the Middletown offense has been in this game. Calhoun has 35 yards rushing by himself. The Princeton Vikings have accumulated a total offense of -2 yards.
And again, as we said, they had 6 plays. And it is going to be go for it here as Middletown is ready to gamble with Coach Place. Now let's see if they're just going to try to draw Princeton off or if they're really going to run an offensive play here. They've got the big back Calhoun in there along with Monte on 4th and a yard just across midfield. Kindred barking the signals. Calhoun is in motion. Trying to draw him, and that's it. That's all he was trying to do, was to see if he could get him to jump offside, but Princeton too smart for that, so the Middies take the 5-yard penalty. Caldwell will come in to boot the ball away.
Not a bad try by Jim Place. One thing that the Princeton Vikings had on that time that you saw, their defensive linemen, they backed up about half a yard, so they had some room. Even if they jumped a little bit, they weren't going to be offsides yet.
Sam Young and Fred Brown are going back deep to take the punt around their 15-yard line. Caldwell will be standing back at his own 30, the line of scrimmage, the Middie 45 after that 5-yard walk-off. Good snap. Low kick this time coming Brown's direction down around the 20. He's just going to let the ball roll quite wisely as there are 2 or 3 Middies right down there around him. And Princeton's going to be pinned back deep in their own territory at about the 16-yard line as they get the ball for the 3rd time tonight.
It's very surprising that we're seeing Princeton being stopped like they are, especially because they're averaging 282 yards a game on the ground.
Princeton has just been dominating on offense. 85 points already this year. The defense has only given up 22. And Princeton usually, as Coach Place told us before the game, gets off to a quick start, but they can shut out in the first quarter in tonight's contest. Once again, the junior Lamont Houston is the signal caller. He has Gatewood and Olverson in the backfield and a short handoff up the middle, a couple of yards in there for Olverson, not much. It'll be a 2nd and long situation again for the Vikings.
Princeton's 2nd right now in the GMC in total offense. They're getting 310 yards a game, and so far they probably just got their -2 back.
Yeah, I think
so now they've got 0.
Yeah, they were -2. They got a 2-yard gain on that play, so it's 2nd down and 8.
This is Princeton's 7th play from the scrimmage coming up right here.
2nd and 8. Olverson and Gatewood still in there, and right there, a beautiful tackle right at the line of scrimmage by the Middies. Probably lost about a yard on that play.
Number 5, Jamie Simmons, was the first player there for the Middies.
He actually did lose a yard, so they're back in the minus column on offense. 3rd down and 9 for Princeton. Earl Haley flanked to the near side of the field. Aaron Williams also in there at wide receiver. Here's the pitch back. It's Gatewood trying to turn wide. He has absolutely nowhere to go. A beautiful hit over there by Daniel Colson, and he lost another 3 yards.
We are seeing a Middletown defense that is simply out-quicking the Princeton offense. They are going from side to side. The Princeton offense has tried to go inside. They can't break the front four of Middletown. Now they're trying to go outside. And number 3 there for the Middletown Middies, Daniel Colson, and the rest of the defensive backs are simply shutting down the outside lanes for the Vikings also.
And if Colson would have missed him, there were 2 more Middies right there and no blockers to help him out. So Middletown should get excellent field position again, but a beautiful punt this time into the wind, or against the wind. It's fielded and then dropped back there by the man who usually fields the punts, Denny Mason, back at the 35, but boy, that one really took off.
It's something very surprising here. Mason must be under orders from place to fair catch every kick so far, because each time that he has received a punt, he's had at least 10 or 15 yards to run with the ball, but he has signaled fair catch as soon as the ball was kicked each time.
Well, you thought they might get the ball at midfield, but an excellent punt that time by Princeton, and the Middies will take it 1st and 10 at their own 36-yard line. Here's the pitch out, and a couple of yards there for Monte, but a flag comes in. I don't know if we might have had a face mask. It looked like that's what we might have had over there, as Monte picked up 3 or 4 yards on the carry.
Now we've got some extracurricular activities going on the far side. The first, it may be 2 different penalties, because the first penalty flew before the tackler grabbed Monte. Then the second penalty was thrown as Monte was wrestled to the ground.
Holding is one call against the Middies. It just looked like as he turned the corner, I thought I saw what looked like his head turn real quick, and there might have been a face mask, and that's about the time the flag was thrown. But so far, the preliminary indication was a holding call. And they are getting ready to march it off against the Middies, so their 3rd penalty in this ball game.
The officials going very casual tonight in their white shorts, a la the USFL. I think there was the hold right there by number 58 of the Middies, Ron Prince, trying to keep the defensive end out.
And it was kind of a high tackle. You saw the hand come up around the face mask, actually hit him like right around the top of the shoulder pad. So the penalty puts Middletown deep in the hole. They got to get all the way out to the 46-yard line. Right now they're back at about the 24, and another flag comes floating in.
Middletown is slowly accumulating their penalty total from last week. They're now at 35 yards in penalties.
Illegal procedure.
A procedure call against the Middies will back them up even further.
So every yard that Calhoun has made for Middletown has been negated by a penalty yard for the Middies.
It's going to be about 1st and 26 on this play.
That's okay. One more screen pass to Calhoun. They're out of it.
The Middies, as we've said, have done very well on the passing game tonight, as well as the running game with Calhoun. And this time, Kindred looking to throw way outside. He's got a man incomplete over here, intended for Anthony Williams, but he overshot him a little bit, but Williams was open on that play. He had beaten the defensive back. Sam Young was in the vicinity, but a good pass, and that would have been a big pickup.
That's probably just a factor because of the reason that Middletown doesn't pass very often. They probably don't get a lot of practice during practice for the Middies, so these guys just aren't well rehearsed in their passing routes and the timing of a passing pattern.
Kindred so far 2 for 3, and he's picked up 24 yards in the passing game. But a 2nd and long situation for the Middies here. Back at their 20. Draw play, and that's not going to fool anybody. If he got lucky, he got back to the line of scrimmage. The ball came loose, but after he went down, he may have lost a yard on that play. So it'll be back at about the 19. It'll be 3rd and 27 yards to go. Josh Johnson was up on the stop that time.
The nose guard for the Princeton Vikings, Dean Allen, who is a 175-pound senior, a small guy for a nose guard, but very quick. He's the one that's getting in there a lot of times when Princeton makes a good defensive stop. He may not be getting the tackle, but he's disrupting the Middie offense.
Did lose a yard back to the 19, so 3rd down, they have to go to the Middletown 46. Let's see if Coach Play selects conservative play and punts it away after this one. 3rd and long. And they will run it for a couple of yards, and that will bring Brian Caldwell and the punting unit onto the play for the Middletown Middies. They scored on their first drive, but they've been stopped the last 2 times that they've had the ball.
And for the first time tonight, Princeton's going to have very good offensive field position.
This punt will come from back around the 5-yard line. Fred Brown is one of the deep men. The other one that's back there in Sam Young, both of them defensive backs, so they're standing right around midfield. So this will be the best position, and the punt is going to be blocked. A bad snap, and Princeton is going to get the ball down at the Middy 5. So the first major break of the night for Princeton. Keith Ronston was in there, but it was the bad snap that disrupted the play. Not the punter's fault on that one. The snap looked like it was off, and by the time he got it, Princeton was right on top of him.
Most football coaches feel that along with rushing, passing, and tackling, one of the things that's going to win ball games is big plays. And every game there's going to be 3 or 4 big plays. Whoever takes advantage of those is going to win the ball game. We've got our first big play of the game. Princeton takes advantage. They've got the ball, 1st and goal.
They've got James Olverson and Gatewood. James Gatewood in there at the running backs behind Lamont Houston. Here's the handoff down close to the goal line. And Princeton gets the touchdown, apparently, on that play. I didn't see the official signal. The Princeton players ran off the field quickly, but so a quick score there for the Vikings, and they take the 6-3 lead.
That's a great job there by Lamont Houston. He was stopped at the line of scrimmage, bounces around, and comes back. It's simply poor tackling by the Middies.
So Princeton takes advantage in one play of that Middletown Middie punting mistake, and quickly the Vikings are up now with the extra point, 7-3. So the big play is in evidence there as the Middies fall behind after the punting mistake. 6:19 is left in the half, and the funny thing is, Princeton still has negative yardage in this ball game. Princeton now leading 7-3.
What did Pat Mancuso say before the ball game? The kicking game is going to be important. And here we see it evident in the first half. Princeton takes the lead, 7-3.
So the kicking game is a factor early on, and let's see what happens with Middletown if Jim Place can get his offense back in gear. You can't fault the Middletown defense so far. They had stopped the Princeton Vikings in impressive fashion 3 straight times. This time they have an 8-second drive, a 1-play drive for the touchdown.
Princeton leads the ball game, but yet they've got negative 3 total yards, and they still haven't gotten a first down. There's a quick strike offense.
That's kind of like the run and shoot, but that's not what it was.
I don't think we'll see either team put up 50-some points tonight.
No, I don't think we'll come even anywhere close to that. So the Middies have 3 guys back in for the kickoff here. The deep man on this play is going to be Darryl Monte. And the kick is coming Monte's direction back at the 1-yard line. He's got a good wedge in front of him. And he breaks through it out to about the 28-yard line. So that's where the Vikings will set, or the Middies will set up shop. 1st and 10 at their own 28-yard line.
Monte's a very dangerous kick returner. Last week against Fairfield, as I mentioned, Fairfield scored a touchdown. They had the momentum. Fairfield kicks off, and that man, number 6 Monte, comes out, breaks the wedge, and runs it back for 80-some yards for a touchdown.
So the Middies have the ball deep in their own territory after the mistake. Let's see if they can get the offense on track. Very little yardage there for Kindred as he kept the ball and was stopped very quickly by the heart of the defensive line for Princeton. Short gain, 2nd down, and about 7 yards to go for the Middies.
We're seeing something that will surely develop as the game continues. There's a war of words between the players. After each play, a little more and more talking going on between the players.
Quarterback Kindred, the senior, did pick up about 3 on that play. 2nd down and 7 now. Just under 5.5 minutes to go here in this first half of Barnett Stadium. Again, this is Kindred, and he gets decent yardage out to about the 37. Still going to be about 2 yards shy of first down yardage.
But we're seeing Middletown get back into an offense. 3, 4 yards each time you touch the ball, you're going to be able to have good third down situations. Third and short, like the Middies have right now.
Need just over a yard, it looks like, to get that first down on that play. So Kindred comes out on this series and carries the ball himself the first 2 plays, setting up third down, and we'll call it a yard to go. Right now, Kindred has Calhoun and Carson Smiley in the backfield behind him. Calhoun has been the bread and butter man for the Middie offense, but this time it's going to go to Smiley, and he's got the first down as he breaks it up over the 40 to about the 41-yard line. And that's where Middletown will have the first down, as again Larry Williams came up to make the stop. But first and 10 for the Middies.
Right now we're seeing the offensive line for the Middletown Middies really doing the job up early. They're getting 3 yards immediately for the Middletown running backs. And once again, Dan Rourke on that offensive line is the big horse who's really leading the charge for the offensive linemen.
Ball now at about the 41-yard line for the Middies, first and 10. Again, Kindred trying to sweep wide, gets maybe a yard or 2 before he's shot down there on the far side. Jesse Olverson came up from a linebacking slot to stop him. He gets a couple of yards, maybe 1 yard is all they're going to give him on this play. Second down, let's call it 9 yards to go. Kindred now 5 carries, 21 yards from the quarterback slot.
That's a great total for the quarterback slot, as you mentioned. Middletown also has 4 first downs. Princeton still looking for their first one, but they lead.
Chris Pinson and Denny Mason flanked to the near side this time on second and long. Kindred handing off straight up the middle. Few yards that time for Smiley. He gets out to about the 48-yard line, but it's going to set up third down. They're still going to need about 4 yards to pick up a first down.
If you're looking for exciting football, you may not have come to the right place tonight, because this is what we're going to see all night. Just a running back straight up the gut, straight up the gut. Then all of a sudden, what Middletown may want to do is pop a pass to the outside.
Right now, the Middies facing a third down situation with Kevin Cunningham in there at a wide receiver along with Mason. On third down, let's call it about 4 yards to go. Middletown 2 for 6 in third downs. There's a quick pass and almost intercepted, broken up nicely. That was going to Pinson. But Sam Young came up and dove at that ball. Class is a little bit low anyway, so it's going to be a fourth down, and the Middies will again have to give the ball back. 2:42 is left in the first half. Princeton 7-3 over the Middies right now.
Sam Young did a nice job of reading that play early, and there on third down, Princeton had their defensive backs about 10 yards off the ball, which is something we weren't seeing earlier in the game.
This time a better snap to Caldwell. He could handle that one. A nice high punt. Fair catch called for by Brown right at the 20. And that's where the Princeton Vikings will take possession of the ball. 2.5 minutes roughly left in this first half of action. And just the kind of defensive battle you would expect from the number 2 ranked Princeton Vikings and number 3 ranked Middletown Middies.
Now let's see if Princeton, with a lead now, let's see if that gives their players a little more confidence. Maybe they can start putting together an offensive series. They still don't have a first down.
And they still have negative yardage. James Olverson and James Gatewood behind Lamont Houston, the quarterback, who scored that touchdown after the Middletown mistake. Hand off, Olverson busted outside. Now they've got some positive yardage as he gets a good 6 or 7 yards on that play. Good faking on that play, and he got out to about the 27-yard line.
Credit that play to Lamont Houston, the quarterback. He audibled at the line of scrimmage, and then he sent Olverson back to the weak side, or the left side of the line of scrimmage. That play was originally designed probably to go to the right side, but he saw Middletown's defense bunched up to the strong side. He sends it back the other way, and that's what credits him with the 7 yards.
Tony Everhart had to come up from the secondary to make the stop, so it'll be second down and 3 after that 7-yard pickup. Pass, but lots of pressure, and down goes Houston. He was belted hard a couple of times. Robbie Salyer was in there, and it looked like Chris, not sure who got the final stop, but the initial hit was by Salyer, I believe. for the Middies. Let's take another look at it here.
Houston may not be a big quarterback, but he is a tough quarterback. We saw it earlier on the touchdown back here where he was hit and wouldn't go down. Here it takes 2 big hits before Houston finally hits the ground.
Jermaine Trammell, I think, was the one that got him first, and then Sallier hit him high and caused him to go down with a minute 19 left in the first half. Houston has 3 rushes for a negative 4 yards in this first half.
Princeton wants a timeout to think it over now, and they are 0-3 on third down conversions, and this may be the most important one because once again, if they have to punt here, Middletown's going to have good field position once again. And
that sack again puts Princeton in the minus column for overall total yards. They're now down to at least a minus 4 yards for the first half, which is unbelievable to have negative offensive yardage and still lead a ball game against the team, the quality of Middletown, 7-3 in this contest.
Barnett Stadium holds about 8,000 people, and they were expecting a sellout. The only place you can see some stands open, obviously you can see it on the far side now because both bands are gone, but the only place you can see some empty stands were up at the top of each corner. There's people lined all the way around, so you would imagine they've got about 8,000 people here tonight.
They had an excellent crowd for the Fairfield game the previous week when the Middies knocked off the previously unbeaten Indians.
You talked about right there at the beginning of the game that 4 GMC teams are ranked in the top 20. Fairfield, even though they lost last week, still ranked 12th, and Lakota is number 9. Those 2 teams are playing tonight also.
That's the only problem with this conference. You've got so many excellent teams, and by the end of the year, they'll knock each other out of the top 20. Third down and 11, and I'm sure Coach Mancuso will want to sit on this lead with a minute 19 to go. Although he does have 1 man flanked out wide. Here's the handoff right up the middle, not near enough for the first down. As that time Olverson got maybe to the 25, and another timeout called by the Middies as they want to try to get some time left on that clock. They've still got 70 seconds left to try to do some offense themselves here in this half.
That's right, a minute 10 left to play in the first half. In Middletown, their defensive players thinking as soon as that play was finished, and the Princeton Vikings didn't get the first down, they called timeout. Now with a minute 10 to play in the first half, they'll have that much time to go about 50 yards to try to get another score.
Olverson, one of the few people with positive yardage on this Vikings offense. He's had 3 carries for 14 yards so far in tonight's contest. So again, the Middies will have 2 men back deep to take this punt, but let's see if they go with the fair catch strategy. That's what they've done so far in tonight's game, and we'll see if they do that again or if they'll try to run one back here. Jeff Blaylock, who got off an excellent punt last time for Princeton, will be backed up deep again at about his 15-yard line or 10-yard line as he tries to get this punt away on 4th down and 5. Line of scrimmage is the Princeton 25. Blaylock, excellent snap, not much of a rush, and another booming kick. All the way back to the 23-yard line, and again, the fair catch is called for by Denny Mason. But what a punt, 52 yards on that punt. The wind is a factor, definitely in this game. The 1 field goal for the Middies with the wind behind them, and the 2 punts that we've just seen this last 2 times by Jeff Blaylock of Princeton with the wind behind him.
Now what's going to be interesting is what does a team that runs the ball almost exclusively, how good are they in a 2-minute type offense?
And they've only got 60 seconds to find out this time, and they are going to put it up. Here's the flat pass out here to Smiley, turns the corner and is out of bounds, at least stopping the clock as he got out to about the 27, but it's a very negligible gain, only about 3 or 4 yards.
If they're going to go to 2 running backs in this type of situation, it'll probably be Smiley and Montai, because those are the 2 quick running backs that the Middies have. Those are the guys that get outside, get to the out of bounds, and stop the clock.
Sam Young over there to drive him out, so it's 2nd down and about 7 yards to go. Denny Mason in there at 1 wide receiver slot. Also in the ball game right now, Kevin Cunningham and another wide receiver, along with Chris Pinson, who had that 73-yard touchdown pass for the Middies. Their only TD pass this year. Kindred flushed out. He's going to run it up the middle. He's not going to get a first down, though, as he dumped at about the 30-yard line, and that means the clock will still be running, which is bad news for the Middies.
Smiley just called timeout. Jim Place was jumping up and down on the sidelines wanting the timeout. Smiley got to the official, called timeout. Now Place is going to come out, which high school coaches can do as opposed to professional and college coaches. They come out to the huddle, talk to the players, get the play right, go back.
Jason Whitehead on that last stop from his linebacker slot, so it is going to be 3rd down. Still about 4 yards to go. And the one thing you're hoping if you're Middletown is that if you get into a 4th down situation, you get a good snap on the punt. If you have to do that again, kicking into the wind here with still 42 seconds remaining.
This does become an important play because if Middletown doesn't get a first down here, they're going to have to kick the ball back, and Princeton will have 30 seconds, and they'll have the ball in midfield.
So far, 3 for 5 for Kindred on the passing game for the Middies, and he's facing that 3rd and 4 situation. But more importantly, the Middies have a long way to go to get even into field goal range as they're still back at their own 30-yard line. 3 wide receivers set to the far side of the field. Lone running back right now behind quarterback Kindred is Smiley. And here's the draw play to Smiley. He'll get the first down and more as he gets out to about the 38-yard line. That'll stop the clock while they move the chains at least, but down to 37 seconds left in the first half. Middletown getting up to the line of scrimmage quickly. Jesse Olverson made the stop, and the clock is back in on 1st and 10 at about the 38-yard line. Here's the quick pass to the sideline, caught down at about the 45, across midfield and out of bounds that time goes Kevin Cunningham. LaShawn Hutchins made the stop to drive him out of bounds. But another Middie first down.
Once again, a nice play call by Jim Place. The Middies doing a good job of controlling the offense here, getting the plays they want, putting themselves into the situation. They aren't grasping at any straws here. They're calling exactly the plays they want.
Anthony Williams and Denny Mason in there at the wideout slots right now, along with Chris Pinson in the game. So it's 1st and 10 there just across midfield at the Viking 49 after that last gain. Making the running play, the bomb deep downfield for Pinson, and it comes up short at about the 20-yard line. Shondale Walport was back there on the coverage. Pinson was the man that, as we said, had a 73-yard touchdown pass, but not on that variety of pass earlier this season.
A little surprised with what Middletown tried to do with that pass. They had been successfully moving the ball down the field with short, controlled plays, and suddenly they try to go for it all when they still have a lot of time on the clock.
That's true. You know, that you thought maybe they would continue with that short passing game because it had been working. Kindred again, he's going to try the same thing as he unloads in Pinson's direction, and incomplete, or rather that time, Darryl Monte was out there. Also, Pinson was back in the vicinity. They both were out there. But now you only have 10 ticks of the clock left, so basically you're back in the situation of having to put that ball up deep. Try that Hail Mary type bomb again.
Again, the Princeton defensive cornerbacks are giving a cushion to the wide receivers each time here of about 5 to 6 yards. And with the quickness of Middletown receivers, you can go down, get 5 yards, catch the ball, and then let the receiver try and make another 5. And this was back when they had 30 seconds ago. But as you said, Bob, now with only 10 seconds, the Middies are forced to go deep.
And now we got that triple wideout set to the near side of the field. And here it comes. We're looking for the long bomb, and it's coming down there. It's going to be way overthrown and intercepted by Princeton down at the 4-yard line. And it's Rashawn Hutchins who holds it down. So Princeton, with 1 second left in the half, will have the ball back. So Middletown fails on this last-minute drive in the first half, and it looks like we'll go to halftime with the Middies trailing Princeton 7-3. All the Middies, or rather Princeton, will have to do is run one play, and that would do it for the half. As a matter of fact, I think they're saying the half is over now, as both teams are heading to the locker room. So that's it, and the Vikings, despite little offense, have the lead, Greg.
Not much offense in the first half, but the Middies were able to get 6 first down. Princeton, no first down, but they've still got the Middies still are behind.
So very quickly, just to recap this first half of action, Middletown struck first as they came down very nicely on a 60-yard drive on the first time they had the ball, and Brian Caldwell kicked a field goal in the first quarter. But then the mistake, the bad snap to Caldwell on a fourth down punting situation. The ball rolled free. Princeton got it at the 1-yard line, and Houston, the quarterback, ran it in for the score. That's where we are at halftime. So we'll be back in a moment. One more time, our halftime score: the Vikings leading the Middies 7-3. In the first half, the team that's on top, the Princeton Vikings, leading this ball game by a 7-3 score, and the breaks went Princeton's way in that first half. The big play wasn't an offensive play; it was on a punt that made the difference in that first half of action.
It really was big plays, and as I said earlier, coaches feel that big plays really influence games more than the actual running and tackling that we see, and big plays were what got things going here. But today's scoring really started with a field goal for the Middletown Middies. That got them up 3-0, and here it is. But then after that, Middletown still controlled the offensive line of scrimmage with Calhoun running, but then it was Princeton who got the big play. Here we see that Princeton, they couldn't do anything on offense.
Just totally shut down in that first half. The Middies, on the other hand, got some good yardage from Calhoun, ran the ball well, but here's the key play as we see it again. The fumbled punt snap. The ball is recovered down at about the 3-yard line
by Corey Glass, and from there, a great job by Princeton's quarterback then, number 11, Lamont Houston, number 9 actually, Lamont Houston, who he was stopped at the line of scrimmage but bounces off, goes around, and scores the touchdown.
So that's what you have in that first half of play. And as we alluded to, Princeton, which unbelievably came into tonight's ball game averaging 282 yards a game, and Middletown averaged 217. And look at those offensive stats. The Vikings picked up 5 yards rushing, -2 on passing, 80 yards rushing for the Middies. So Middletown has the offensive advantage. No first downs at all for the Vikings. Well, look at that time of possession, too. That's a key factor.
15 minutes for the Middies, and the Vikings have only had the ball 8 minutes, just under 8 minutes, but it took them only 8 seconds to score their touchdown.
A 1-yard drive, which every coach would love to have a 1-yard drive here and there, and that's what Princeton took advantage of as their quarterback scored on that play. Other than that, as we said, the offense pretty much shut down. Negative yardage most of that first half.
There's Pat Mancuso, and his team really isn't used to playing close ball games. Their last 2 games, they've scored over 30 points and allowed their opposition only 22 points combined in those 2 games. While Middletown, this may help as we get later and later into the game. 2 out of their 3 games against Cleveland St. Joseph's and last week against Fairfield have been close games, so they're used to playing tight situations.
The only blowout the Middies had was that second game of the year when they bombed Kettering Fairmont 56-0. Other than that, though, they've only scored 31 points in those 2 big games where they were playing teams with very good defensive efforts, and that's exactly what we expected to see tonight, and that's exactly what we are seeing is a real defensive struggle. So far, the Middies have moved the ball a little better than Princeton, but doesn't matter on the scoreboard. The only thing that matters up there is the point totals, and that's where the second-ranked Vikings are ahead of the third-ranked Middies.
And I believe Middletown's going to get the ball first here on offense, so we'll get to see what kind of adjustments both teams have been able to make at halftime, because they both had coaches up here in the press box, and they may have seen something at halftime, so we may see a few new wrinkles here in the second half.
The Middies and Vikings coming back to the sideline to huddle around their prospective coaches as we get ready for second half action. You take a look at the crowd. As Greg said, I think last week I heard estimates of around 10,000 people here at Barnett Stadium. Doesn't look like quite as big of a crowd this time, especially on the opposite side of the field, the Princeton side basically, and where the fans sit. And the fans let out a big whoop as the Middies come rushing to the sideline as they get ready for the second half. And as you said, that the fact that Middies have had some very tight ball games could be a factor here in the second half. Obviously, what you want to do if you're Coach Jim Place is take that ball like you did at the start of the first half and move down for an early score.
It's going to be very important because as it gets later and later into the ball game, if Princeton can keep this lead, then another big play becomes even more important. If Princeton can get that, they can really put this game away.
These two teams have some players that can break away with the big play. When you look at some of the rushing averages, for example, coming into tonight's game, you had Calhoun, John Calhoun of Middletown, who was averaging close to 6 yards a pop. And Princeton also has 2 or 3 runners like James Olverson and James Gatewood that have had great seasons already.
That's right, and those breakaway runners, like you were talking about, they can hit the long play when it's needed. Smiley, his longest run from scrimmage this year has been 65 yards, and Calhoun, he can run with the ball too. He's had a 35-yarder this year.
Dion Hewley, Darrell Monte, and also Carson Smiley will go back as the triple safeties for the kickoff, and the Middies will have the possession of the ball and the wind at their back in the third quarter. And remember, of course, that means that Princeton will have that wind advantage in the final stanza.
It hasn't come into play yet, but as long as the game stays close, and a field goal could become a factor with both teams not having a real good field goal kicker, it could become important.
The only thing that's made a difference so far was for Jeff Blaylock, the Princeton punter, who twice, when you thought maybe Middies would get good field position, he boomed a couple of 50-yard punts. That's the only time that the wind has been much of a factor out here tonight.
And if you can see the flag flying down at the end where the scoreboard is, it is really gusting at times and almost standing straight out.
It's gotten rather chilly out here with that breeze. And here comes Blaylock moving into the ball. And the kick is going to come down and be picked up by Carson Smiley, coming to the far side of the field, but he doesn't have the speed to get outside those Princeton defenders. We do have a flag, though. Might have a late hit down there at the 20, and that's the first real mistake Princeton has made penalty-wise on the evening.
Yeah, that's the first mental mistake, as you said. Harold Nash, number 30 for the Vikings, gets down there, made a great play on defense because Smiley is very quick, and once he gets outside, it's off to the races. But Nash was able to get down, make the stop, and then it was another Princeton defender who really made the stupid play coming in. Here we'll get to see Nash. He comes in and makes a nice one-on-one tackle, because if he gets away there...
There's the late hit right there.
By number 33, Jesse Olverson,
who's a starting defensive player and has done fairly well for Princeton, but a 15-yard personal foul for the late hit. And the handoff now goes to Carson Smiley, who was the recipient of the late hit on the kickoff, and he gets a couple of yards. Second down and 8 as he got out to about the 37-yard line on that play.
Josh Johnson, the defensive end, 185-pound junior came in and made the tackle.
So a second and long situation for the Middies as they gain 2 on that play. Smiley, who just carried the last time, is in there along with John Calhoun. Calhoun already with 251 yards rushing coming into tonight's game, and he had a good first half. Kindred, the quarterback, C.C. Kindred, he's a senior, and he wants to put it up, gets it outside, incomplete, and a first down as the pass goes to Kevin Cunningham for his second catch of the night, and into about the 47-yard line before he's brought down. But that nice, quick little pass seems to be working well for the Middies.
It works well when they use it, but they haven't gone to it very often. This is the same play last week, which Kindred hit Chris Pinson, number 9, for the long touchdown pass. And that time, Cunningham, the quick post in, if he can get away from that first defensive tackler, it's off to the races.
Sam Young came up to help make the stop on that play. So it's at the 48-yard line, first down and 10. Kindred fakes into the line to Calhoun and keeps it and gets to about midfield. Stopped immediately in there. Second down and about 8 yards to go.
Jamie Phillips came up from his linebacker stop and linebacker's spot and made the stop.
So Phillips has been in there on the last couple of hits. It's going to be second down. We'll call it 8 yards to go right at midfield. Just underway in the third quarter with Middletown still trailing Princeton 7-3.
I think we've got an equipment timeout on the side. It looks like Smiley's got his shoulder pads stuck up there, and the official helps him out and starts the clock again.
So a second and 8 for the Middies. Right now at wide receiver, they've got Kevin Cunningham and Denny Mason in there. The running backs are Smiley and Calhoun behind C.C. Kindred. Here comes Calhoun. He'll get down to the 46-yard line for a gain of about 4 yards. Jason Whitehead was in there on the stop. Third down going to still be about 4 yards or 5 yards to go to pick up the first down yardage. They need to get to about the 42.
Calhoun's doing a good job, but it's that right side of the offensive line that's making it successful for Middletown. Time and time again, they're blowing out the Princeton defenders, giving Calhoun 3 yards initially, and then telling him that he can make the rest on his own.
So 3rd and 4 is what they're going to call it here. Jack South now in at wide receiver for the Middies. Here's the pitch to Calhoun, and I don't think he got it. It's going to be close.
Calhoun is the ball carrier.
Larry Williams came up on the stop. Also, receiver Sean Hutchins, rather, I think it was in on that, and as well as Williams.
That play doesn't work right from the start, but because of 2 things. The containment of Princeton, but the reason they can contain so well is that the right guard, Alan Brown, was really giving that away that time. He was leaning to the right. He pulled outside trying to get his block, but he was giving away right from the start that he was going to be pulling, and any linebacker who's worked 2 cents is going to be able to read that very well.
And here comes the gamble. They did not make it. It's 4th and 1. This time they've got Darryl Monte in there with Carson Smiley as Calhoun comes to the sideline for a breather. Straight up the middle, the quarterback sneak, a first down. So C.C. Kindred just ducked his head down and went straight up the middle and gets the big first down play.
When in doubt, go to the quarterback sneak, and that time only 2 players need to know what's going on the Middletown offense, the center and the quarterback.
And you can see center moves, the quarterback follows him, and hardly anybody else had to do anything on that play.
A lot of times what happens, the quarterback just simply comes up and taps the butt of the center on which side he's going to go, and the center snaps it, goes that way, and the quarterback simply follows. Kindred now has 30 yards rushing out of the quarterback spot.
So 1st and 10 just outside the Princeton 40. Here's the pitch. And outside goes Smiley, and he beats the one man in the corner down to about the 31-yard line. He got around the defensive linebacker over there on that play. It looked like Larry Williams came up trying to stop him, but he got outside of the containment and picked up a nice gain.
There we see Smiley's game-breaking speed. Once he gets outside the outside containment man for Princeton, Smiley has another 8 yards on his own simply because he's so fast.
Now 26 yards on 7 rushes for Smiley in tonight's contest. 7.5 minutes left in the 3rd quarter, so the Middies have had the ball the first 4.5 minutes of this half. Here comes Smiley again, and boy, is he plastered after he got just about a yard, and the Princeton Viking defense is fired up after that big hit.
Now it makes it 3rd and short. It's going to be right at, they're going to give Middletown the first down, it looks like. So even though Princeton makes the stop here, Smiley, again, the Middletown offensive line is getting that initial surge. Thus, the Middletown running backs are getting the first downs that are needed. They're getting 3 yards before they're even touched by a Princeton defender.
So James Phillips came up, made a big hit on him that time, but didn't make any difference. He got just enough for the first down. Here comes a pass out in the flat, overthrow. Denny Mason was out there, but the pass overshot the mark.
It went right through his hands, though, too. Mason hasn't had too much of a chance to touch the ball or work with the ball because every time he's gone back for a punt return, he's put up the fair catch signal.
So it's 2nd down and 10.
But Middletown is controlling the ball right at the beginning of the second half, which is something that was very important.
5 minutes now they have been on this drive, which started at their 35 after a 15-yard roughing penalty on the kickoff on a late hit. Here's the pitch wide. Smiley, nice yardage, and a flag down in the middle of the field, away from the action.
We hadn't seen too many penalties since early in the 2nd quarter, and I was about ready to mention that, but now here comes another spurt of penalties, possibly. 2 flags.
Now
thrown.
another one just came in. The penalty, a hold against Middletown, was the initial call, but I thought I saw another one come in at the end of the play. Unsportsmanlike conduct on top of it. Boy, would that be a killer. This was a beautiful drive. I mean, they had reached down to about the 25-yard line, and if you got a hold and followed by unsportsmanlike, that's 25 total yards. You'd be back at midfield, and that can't please Jim Place at all. They get ready to step it off. The Middies start up toward the line of scrimmage, but they're going to have to walk a long way back, all the way out now to the 45-yard line is where they're going to spot this one.
This is something that happened to Middletown last week against Fairfield. Right at the beginning of the second half, they had a real rash of penalties, especially number 34, Dion Hewley. He committed 2 critical penalties early in the second half last week, and now Middletown really finds themselves in a hole.
Second down. They have to get down to about the 20, so 25 yards to go. Kindred, the little flat pass over the middle. A good catch out there, but a good tackle also after about a 6-yard gain. Looked like Darryl Monte might get a lot more than what he did, and Sam Young made the good open field stop.
Monte actually did have more than he got, and then he tried to stretch it into more, cutting back across the field, and actually probably lost 3 or 4 yards.
Sam Young has played a good game tonight for Princeton. He came up and made a big stop there. What looked like it might be a 10 or 15-yard gain ends up only as a 7-yard pickup, and instead it's third down at the 38. They have to get to the 20. So long way to go for the Middletown Middies, trailing 7-3. And you'd hate to, if you're Jim Place, come away after dominating 6 minutes of a quarter without a score.
Officials timeout now.
Looks like number 65, one of the offensive linemen with a helmet problem, Tom Campbell. Looks like he was having an equipment problem there for a minute.
$172. The winning number 1303.
So let's see what Jim Place does on this offensive play. Anthony Williams and Denny Mason are in there at the wideouts, along with Jack South on 3rd and 18 to go. Here's the pitch back, almost fumbled, and now a halfback pass is caught down there at the 15 and fumbled. And Princeton picks it up at the 10 and out of bounds at about the 20-yard line. And there's that man again, Sam Young. A brilliant play call. You had the halfback pass by Monte, which was completed to Denny Mason, but Mason took a big shot and coughed it up. He would have had a first down.
Once again, you said it, Bob. A nice play call by Jim Place. They get rid of the ball, and then a big hit. And Sam Young comes up with it and returns it about 10 yards for the Princeton Vikings.
He didn't make the hit, actually. He recovered the fumble. The hit was stuck in there by Larry Williams, it looked like. But Princeton gets the ball back, and we also have an injured Middie out around the 35-yard line after that last play. So just when it looks like the Middies may have the first big offensive play of the night, the fumble, the hard hit, and the fumble.
We've gone 2.5 quarters now, and there's been 2 big plays. And even though Princeton doesn't have any statistics or leading any statistics in this ball game, they've taken advantage of the 2 big plays so far tonight.
The fumble on the low snap on a punt that led to a Princeton touchdown, and now as it looks like the Middies might be about to break off a big offensive play. In fact, they did break off a big one, but you saw on that replay the hard hit that was put on the wide receiver, Denny Mason. So Monte, his first pass of the night, and it's good for 25 yards, but the fumble at the end really kills the Middies on this particular drive.
Monte seems to be the big play person for the Middies. Last week, an 80-plus yard touchdown return on the kickoff, and this week a 25-yard pass. He does it all.
And you got to remember, as we told you at the start of that play, C.C. Kindred's pitch was a little bit wide, and it looked like it might be Monte was going to have some problems in the backfield, yet he turns that into a nice big play despite the shaky start.
Matt Frieder a little groggy getting up. It looks like it's a leg injury to his left knee or ankle.
Reeder coming off the field, being assisted by the trainers there, so hope it's not a serious injury. He's one of the 5 starting offensive linemen for the Middies, so he goes to the sideline. That's really our first major injury that we've seen out here, and it's kind of surprising in a hard-hitting game like this.
Now Princeton has the ball. We're halfway through the third quarter here. Princeton touches the ball for the first time. They still don't have a first down tonight.
Lamont Houston is their quarterback. Here's the handoff up the middle, and they still don't have any offenses. Gatewood is put on his back very quickly by the heart of that Middie defense. So it'll be second down and about 10 yards to go.
The offensive line, unlike Middletown's offensive line, which is really getting that surge, that first yard or two surge, the Princeton offensive line has not been able to establish their ground on the offensive line tonight.
So we have a second down. We'll call it 11 as he actually lost the yard. Gatewood did that time. Here's a quick hitter, and it looks like that time they give the ball to Olverson, James Olverson. He gets a few yards. It's still going to be third down and about 6 yards to go.
There's Reeder being worked on the sidelines while his defense tries to stop the Princeton Vikings so that the offensive unit and possibly Reeder can get back out there again.
And they need to hold him just one more time. Princeton needs to get to about the 32-yard line to pick up a first down. So they have third, and we'll call it 7 yards to go.
All night long, they've been in third and long situations.
Houston, the junior quarterback, as we said, not very good on passing, and he's in a passing situation. Here's the pitch, though, and nothing doing that time. The Middies swarm James Olverson. Chris Wells, we told you about him at the start of the game, a great linebacker, probably going to be very heavily recruited at the college level, and he makes a big stop. Also in there, Duncan, John Duncan.
Wells is a big-time linebacker, and he is the person that really stopped that play. He was so quick coming from his inside linebacker spot all the way over to the far side of the field, and he made the stop.
Now, Chris Dennis and Denny Mason are back deep to take the punt. Now, this time, Jeff Blaylock, who's doing the punting, will have to punt into the wind. He got up a couple of 50-yarders in the second quarter, but this time going into the wind. Middies should get good position, but still a nice punt as Blaylock is doing a good job tonight. Fumbled there and then picked up, and this time we do see Mason come across. His first time he's returned the punt, he got about 6 yards. But Mason, who fumbled on that last pass, fumbles the kick, but recovers.
Last week against Fairfield, the punt returner for the Middletown Middies, it was number 2, Anthony Williams, and he dropped the ball twice. There we see Pinson. He drops the ball. Maybe that's why Jim Place is having these guys fair catch it every time.
Mason had been fair catching them all right in the first half, but he fumbles after that last pass, then fumbles the kick. But to his credit, he comes back, picks it up, and gains about 6 yards into Princeton territory. 7-3 Princeton. We're down to the 3:20 mark in the third quarter. The Middies trying to get it going, and here comes the nice pitch, and it's a beauty. There goes Carson Smiley. He may go. No, he's tripped up beautifully down there by Princeton. It looked like Shondale Wolford, who got a hand on him and brought him down, but a huge gain that time, as you saw Carson Smiley's outside speed.
Carson Smiley does have the outside speed, and once he gets outside, it really is off to the races. But two people that made that play happen are number 2, Anthony Williams, and number 15, Jack South, the two outside receivers that were out there for Middletown. Their downfield blocks were critical for Smiley getting the yardage he did.
He picked up about 28 yards on that play. 9 carries, 55 yards now for Smiley. 1st and 10 down at the Princeton 20. Here he comes again. He bounces outside, fumbles the ball, and Princeton got it back. Rashawn Hutchins falls on the ball, so 2 straight turnovers deep in Princeton territory by Middletown.
3 turnovers now have killed the Middletown Middies. They've been driving each time. They've had the ball, and they turn it over. Princeton gets it back, and just when it looks like Middletown has a glimpse of hope, the ball is knocked out.
Jesse Olverson is the man that knocked it out, and then Hutchins fell on it. So just after that beautiful run by Smiley, he comes back with another running play, trying to break it outside after he found nothing in the middle, and he fumbles it. And the Vikings still looking for some offense, but still leading with 2:20 left in the third quarter. 7-3 Vikings. Handoff right in the middle. Nothing doing that time by James Olverson. He came into this game averaging nearly 7 yards a pop, but he's been shut down along with James Gatewood, who came into tonight's game averaging over 9 yards a carry.
It's starting to get to the point where this is one of those games where you just throw out all the stats. Nothing means anything anymore. Both coaches are just simply trying to get a W out of this one.
That time, Olverson only gained 1 yard, so it's 2nd down and 9 for the Vikings. They'd like to move the ball out and get some decent field position. They still are looking for their first down in tonight's game. 5 yards total offense for Princeton with almost 33 minutes or 34 minutes gone in this game. Quarterback keeper that time and nothing doing as Houston is brought down very quickly. So again, another 3rd and long. just the kind of thing the Princeton offense is not geared to, and they faced it all night, is that 3rd and long situation.
And more we get into a situation where the Princeton defense is spending a lot of time on the field. That may affect them in the 4th quarter.
Now, if you're Coach Pat Mancuso, you can't be happy. You got to wonder, you know, you don't throw the ball very well. Do you risk throwing it here and risking the interception? They're 0 for 4 on 3rd down conversions tonight. They're going to keep it on the ground. There's a pitch, and Olverson breaks it for a 1st down. His first one, and boy, that was close to a fumble.
And that's their first down of the night, and that was very close to a fumble. That was a nice job there by Houston. He got rid of the ball right at the last second.
Olverson slow to get up on that play. Tony Everhart came up to make the stop, but a big play there, and it looked for just a second like Houston was going to throw that one away.
Lamont Houston is only 5'9" again. He's only a junior also, but he is really playing like a big-time quarterback tonight.
They get their first down. It comes at a critical time. They allows them to keep the ball to finish out the 3rd quarter. Olverson now 7 for 30 on rushing attempts. And that time, the man who's had a really tough go of it tonight, James Gatewood, is dumped for no gain, probably a loss of 2 or 3 yards, as we see Olverson check back into the lineup, so not a serious injury. And that's probably going to be the last play of the 3rd quarter, as we're inside 10 seconds. No hurry for Princeton to run the ball here.
Coming up to the end of the 3rd quarter.
And that's it. 3 quarters in the book here at Barnett Stadium in the high school game of the week. Princeton still clinging to the 7-3 lead. We'll be back with the 4th quarter in a moment. Minutes of this GMC showdown between the Vikings and Middies. The team that wins this will be in first place. They're both 3-0, ranked 2nd and 3rd in the state right now in Division I football. And the Vikings, though, just coming off a big 3rd down conversion, their first one of the night after 5 attempts. Right now, 214 total yards for the Middies and just 17 for Princeton, which tells you how much stats can tell you about a ball game, and that's not much. Turnovers and fumbles have really hurt. The fumble on the punt, the only time the Vikings have scored tonight. A busted play here, but Houston turns it into about a 4-yard gain. It looked like he turned to hand it off to somebody and nobody was there.
With the way the Princeton offense has been going this evening, a 4-yard gain on a busted play, maybe their running backs, they were set together. Houston turns around and the running backs ran into each other. They were both going in opposite directions.
And then to top it off, he ran into one of his own linemen before he finally goes down. Ball at the 39-yard line. It'll be 3rd down. They need to get about 8 yards to pick up the 1st down. This time they have Earl Haley, Curtis Chenault in there at wide receiver. Aaron Williams also in there. And here comes the pass. Houston throws, and it is caught out there by Curtis Chenault, his favorite receiver. And let's see if he got a 1st down. Coach Jim Place was not too happy with the placement of the ball there.
He wasn't happy because he thought Chenault didn't have grasp of the ball as he was going out. And if we see a replay, we'll see Chenault bobbles it right as he's going out of bounds. And then evidently the official says he brings it in, and it is very close to a 1st down. Going into that play, Princeton had -2 yards passing. And with that gain of about 8 yards, they've still only got 6 yards through the air tonight.
Jim Place still along the sideline chewing on the officials here for that call as they bring the chains in for the big measurement here. Either a 1st down or a 4th down for the Vikings at their own 48-yard line, and they did not get it, so Jim Place will be happy about that.
Now it's time for Pat Mancuso to make a decision. Earlier in the game, Jim Place decided to go for it on 4th down in a couple situations, and it looks like Mancuso is going to go ahead and punt the ball.
Well, the way that Jeff Blaylock has punted when he's had the wind at his back, there's no doubt why. He's gotten off a couple of boomers. Houston, 2 for 4 now on the night, 7 yards passing. He's got to be close to a record for the number of pass attempts this year. He only had 14 all season, 5 completions. So he may not have to throw it too much more unless Princeton gets behind here. They still lead 7-3. And this punt, if it's another good one, should put Middletown deep in their own territory.
Mancuso is taking into consideration a couple of things. He has a more confidence in his defense than he does his offense, and also his punter has the wind to his back.
Again, Denny Mason back to receive the punt, and it's another good one. It's going Mason's direction back, and he's going to catch it at about the 14-yard line. Knee touchdown right there, and so the Middies, with 11 minutes left in the game, have to go 86 yards. And Greg Christopher, if you stop and think about it, the way the Middletown Middies have driven the ball tonight, a 7 or 8 minute drive here, and they have to score. That may be the last chance they're going to have.
This may be the last chance they have because the way Princeton, they looked like they may be getting their offense on track. That time when they had the ball, they kept it for almost 6 minutes, their longest possession of the game.
Most of the time it's been 3 downs and out. So here are the Middies 86 yards from pay dirt as they start this fourth quarter drive. Very small yardage for Kindred as he cut it up the middle for maybe 1 or 2. So second and long facing the Middies, deep in their own territory. It's down in this vicinity where they had the bad snap on the punt back in the second quarter that led to Princeton's only score of the night.
Kindred now has 31 yards on the ground. It'll be interesting to see if Place decides to go to the air like he did late in the second half when the Middies were trying to drive the ball quickly.
John Calhoun, we haven't heard much from him so far in the second half. He had a good first half. He and Smiley are in there. Here comes the pass over the outstretched fingertips and almost intercepted of Jack South there. But also on the tip there, Shondale Wolfork came close to picking it off.
Number 15 for the Middies there trying to come up with the pass. Jack South, he was one that threw a critical block earlier when Smiley was making a run. You know what may be a problem for the Middies offense is that they've got 3 good running backs. They have a tough time getting all of them work.
Third down and 8 yards to go now for the Middies, deep in their own territory. 3 wide receivers in the set this time for Middletown. Again, Kindred motioning his receivers, trying to move around, still on his feet, spinning, but he's going to go down at about the 17-yard line. Nobody open that time. Good defensive coverage by Princeton with 10 minutes left in this ball game. So Middletown's going to have to cough it up here deep in their own territory.
Rob Bright, who's a linebacker for the Vikings, he really planted Kindred on that play as he was spinning around. May have a few cobwebs up there this time.
So Brian Caldwell standing back near his goal line, hoping history doesn't repeat itself here on 4th down. And again, Princeton should get this ball in great field position right around midfield. They'll have Sam Young and Fred Brown back at midfield. It is coming in the direction of Sam Young. He's going to let it bounce, though, instead at about the 45 of Middletown. So Princeton will get the ball in Middie territory. And they haven't been able to put it there on offense. They've had to rely on Middletown to give them a ball in Middie territory.
Now remember, last time they were able to get a drive going. They kept the ball for 5 minutes and 56 seconds. So if they can do that this time, they're only going to give Middletown 4 minutes to work with the ball.
And that's not good news either team that's behind. Without a good passing attack, you don't want to be stuck in that position where you're used to grinding out those long plays. And, of course, a score here could just about put it out of reach for the Vikings if they could get a touchdown. Fumble on the snap and covered quickly by Houston. Very fortunate that ball bounced right back up to him, or it could have been a disaster.
Now, every play becomes critical here because Princeton, who has not had good success on the offensive side today, they need to be getting 3 or 4 yards every snap of the play.
And Houston falling on that one for a 1-yard loss. 2nd down and 11 at the 46-yard line. Lamont Houston has gone all the way at quarterback. James Olverson and James Gatewood have pretty much been in there in the backfield all the time. 2 for 4 for 7 yards, or 2 for passing. That's all Houston has done tonight, and there are flags all over the place. Very few penalties on Princeton so far tonight.
Both teams are very penalty prone in a lot of other games, but these important games, the games where everything's on the line late in the game, you see few penalties, and that may be a mark of the discipline side. These players know it's a tough game, they know it's a big game, and they play a little better.
So Princeton's only other penalty coming up to this last one was a 15-yard step off for that late hit on the kickoff to start the second half. So only 20 yards in penalties for Princeton tonight. But right now, it's 2nd and 16 after that last call, and there's another offensive lineman jumping. and it's going to be 2nd and 21. So the Vikings get great field position and take 2 steps backward.
This time it's number 69, Delrico Simons, who simply jumps off sides, and that's a mental mistake. A lot of time coaches can be more forgiving on a physical mistake, something that's too aggressive, but this time
he beat the snap by about 3 counts that time.
trying to get a little jump on everything, and Houston's not happy with it either.
We saw a brief shot of Pat Mancuso on the other sideline. He was not exactly thrilled as well as the Vikings coach, and right now the Vikings say, let's take some time out. We've got 8 minutes left in this game. Let's talk this thing over before it gets out of hand. They lead 7-3, but the last thing you need when you get the ball in Middletown territory is to get 2 penalties and a fumble that takes you back from minus 11 yards.
Now the Princeton offense, the offensive coaches, they have to be deciding, are we just going to keep the ball on the ground and try and move it and just get into a decent punting situation? Because remember, the wind is to their back. Or are they going to try to go with a big play here and possibly get the whole 9 yards?
Tough decision for the Vikings. As you say, their punting game has been strong so far tonight, but you never know when things can unravel. Right now, you do face 2nd and 21.
We saw the Middletown mascot there before. What is a Middie?
I'm not really sure. It's easy to pick on a Viking, but so the Vikings break the huddle as time is back in. 7:59. That's what we have left in tonight's contest here at Barnett Stadium. Right now, Aaron Williams, Earl Haley flank to the near side of the field. They don't get much action, though, as wide receivers in this Princeton offense. Although Hudson's back to pass, he's going to throw deep. Houston's pass is way overthrown that time. Incomplete, intended for Freddie Brown. So 3rd down and long, and they were going for the bomb that time to try to break the game open.
Now it becomes 3rd and long, and once again, you're in the same situation that you were 2nd and long, only it's another down, and the punter's got to be getting ready. And Jim Place, once again, it looks like no matter what happens here, as long as they can stop Princeton, they're going to have the ball in good field position.
And still a lot of time left at 7:54. That last play, of course, was an incomplete pass, only taking 5 seconds. So Houston 2 for 5. Good pressure on him this time. He gets away from it. Still looking, still good pressure, and he's going to go down. And I think we'll have he threw the ball away as he was going down, so that's got to be grounding. John Duncan was one of the men in there all over him that time.
It is grounding, that's the call. It won't matter. There's a loss of down on this penalty, but it won't matter because it's 4th down anyway.
John Duncan interrupted the play, then got back a second time to nail him, and you saw on the replay there, he just threw it away as he was being tackled, which is not really a good play if you're the Vikings, because that backs you up deeper.
That's only the 3rd penalty for Princeton, but on 3rd down situations, the Vikings are only 1 of 7 tonight, a very telling statistic.
Now just keep in mind, Princeton got this ball at the Middletown 45. Right now, they're back at their own 35 because of 3 penalties in one series after they'd gone all night with just 1 penalty in 3 quarters.
Not a good time to have a big rash of penalties.
So Jeff Blaylock will do the punting. As we said, he's had an excellent night tonight. He gotten off some beautifully high kicks that allow for good punt coverage. This one a little lower, though. Caught at about the 30 and returned to about the 40-yard line that time by Chris Dennis. His first return of the night, and he gets a good 10-yard return there.
And now the fans are really getting into it. The cheerleaders and the players turning around trying to get the fans into it because they realize if Middletown's going to score, now's the time they have to do it. There's only 7 minutes to play in this ball game.
The 2nd and 3rd ranked teams in the state of Ohio in the game of the night in the state of Ohio. The Greater Miami Conference Championship could be on the line with this game this evening. So here comes Middletown and quarterback C.C. Kindred. Spinning, that looked like it might be a busted play, and he's dumped right at the line of scrimmage. Looked like he wanted to turn around to hand it off, and he goes right back to the line, and that is it.
He's really getting up slowly after that hit, but that's not a busted play. That's a design play where the quarterback spins around and freezes the linebackers because they think Monte's going to get the ball there, and hopefully the linebackers have frozen for a second or two, and he can get 3 yards on his own.
But upright right there to stop that play, so no gain on that one. 2nd down and 10. The clock is still running under 7 minutes now. And this time Kindred wants it all, throwing deep for Pinson, and he got his hand on it but could not pull it down at the 30. Nice try by Pinson. He was off balance. I think if he would have had more time to keep his balance and turn around, he could have had that ball, but he couldn't hold on to it.
He's off balance, and Place doesn't like what he saw because Kindred held on to the ball just about a second too long. Pinson was open and had been open for about 8 yards, but if Kindred lets go of the ball, flashed a little bit sooner, Pinson's open, and he's around. If he would have caught the ball, it would have been a nice gain. He wouldn't have gotten a touchdown because there were 4 Princeton defenders, but it would have been the biggest play of the night so far for the Middies.
So 3rd and 10 for Middletown at their own 40-yard line. Kindred is straight back. He's got good protection. Flat pass incomplete and nowhere near Pinson that time. I don't know if he was throwing it to him. If so, he came up about 5 yards short. And the Middies offense is only out there for about a minute and a half or less, and they had to punt it away now.
How many times do you see an offensive team that's struggling during the night, suddenly in the 4th quarter, they've got a lot of time, but suddenly they push the panic button. They go to something that's unfamiliar with them. You know, they haven't passed the ball all season. They run the ball very well, and they've had modest success with it tonight, but instead they go to the passing game, and it doesn't work.
So the Middies have to kick it away. Caldwell's been busy tonight, and not a good punt at all, bouncing right around midfield. And boy, that really hurts. Only about a 12-yard kick that time.
It's easier said than done, but all Princeton has to do now is just keep the ball for 6 minutes and 20 seconds on the ground.
7-3 is our score. The last points put on the board in this game came at 6:19 of the 2nd quarter. We're now at 6:12 of the 4th quarter. And again, we emphasize it came on a 1-yard touchdown run by the quarterback, Lamont Houston, after the Middies bobbled a punt and gave Princeton the ball.
That's been the most successful play of the night for Princeton, is just the quarterback sneak.
Houston's getting the good yardage tonight. He got about 5 on that play. 2nd down and 5 to go.
There were the men in the trenches, and they have really done a good job tonight. Both offensive lines have been able to push people out, and the defensive linemen, too, are also doing a good job on both teams. This has been a really hard-fought, Ohio-type football game.
Handoff, Olverson breaks it in the secondary, and he's down at the 41-yard line. That almost could have been disaster for Middletown. Jeff Gann, I think, got his hands on him first, and then Daniel Colson came up to finish him off.
There's another 1st down for Princeton. Move the chains, but again, Gann was the player. If he doesn't make that shoestring tackle, he's going to score a touchdown and put this game away.
Ball at the 40 now for Princeton. 5:18 to go. Final quarter at Middletown's Barnett Stadium. The quarterback sneak this time. The Middies are not going to go. Fumble, and Middletown, Princeton got it back at the 45-yard line. Oh, they had a beautiful chance to pick up that loose ball, and they couldn't fall on it in time.
The ball was just sitting out there waiting to be picked up, and a Middletown player looked like he had his hands on it for a second, but then it bounced away.
Fred Brown is the man, number 29 for Princeton, that's going to dive in at the last second and pull that ball away from Daniel Colson, who had a shot at it. Now it's 2nd and 14, but unfortunately for Middletown, the clock continues to roll down to 4:30. Middletown's going to have to think about using some timeouts here if they can stop this play. Olverson is being chased by 3 tacklers, still gets around him and gets back about 3 yards. He beat 3 guys who were chasing him in the backfield, but good pursuit by Scott Wills, and they finally bring him down. And it'll be 3rd down and still about 11 yards to go.
Both quarterbacks getting dinged up tonight. Here, Houston gets hit hard. We don't get to see it after that pitch. And Kindred on the Middletown side, he's been hit hard a couple times also tonight.
Robbie Saldier and Terry Hunter were on the pursuit, and also then Scott Wills comes over. Actually got back to just the line of scrimmage from 2nd down, so it's still going to be 3rd down and about 13 yards to go. But if you're Princeton right now, you got to be thinking, let's not do anything silly. Let's keep it on the ground and punt the ball and put Middletown back at about the 5-yard line with about 3 minutes to go. It'll be very difficult for them to score. But instead, they do act like they want to pass it. And Houston sacked, but there is a flag down on the play, and Houston is down.
Houston staying down. He was hit hard, dragged down.
Robbie Salyer nailed him.
And it's intentional grounding again for Princeton. It really doesn't matter because it's 3rd down. Here we'll get to see it. Yeah, he just ditches that ball out, trying to get rid of it. Going into that play, Princeton only had 38 yards in total offense. And they're going to, since that's an incomplete pass, they'll stay at that too.
3:37 is what the time is on the clock right now. Princeton to punt from their own 43-yard line. Again, you're going to have Chris Dennis back there and Denny Mason. They've been back in the double safeties all night long for Middletown. Let's see if they can get a run back here. They need one to get good field position. And he falls down on the punt, and it's going to be taken there all the way up to the 30, out to the 40, and out to the 42-yard line. A great return by Denny Mason, but the punter that time, Jeff Blaylock, slipped and fell flat, and he's hurt.
He is hurt. He's staying down. He's not getting up. He may have pulled a muscle when he went down on that punt attempt.
And that was his worst punt of the night, but it looked like he slipped as he went to get into the ball. Let's take another look at it. There you see, just as he lets it go, he slides and goes down. And a short punt, and Middletown gets a huge break. They get it at the 42-yard line. You can hear this crowd as they come to their feet. The stadium is shaking as the Middies are 58 yards away and 3 minutes away from a game-winning touchdown if they can do it. Kindred's pass, incomplete, in and out of the hands of Denny Mason.
Once again, I don't understand why a team who is very successful running the ball all season long, and obviously they don't practice the pass very much. They don't go to it very much. Suddenly they go to the passing game, you know, late in the game when you've still got a lot of time on the clock, 3.5 minutes left to play, and they're going to the passing game when they could be running it.
So it is 2nd down and 10. He has Calhoun and Carson Smiley behind him in the backfield on 2nd and long. 3 wide receiver set though, and he wants to pass. Kindred looking, steps up in the pocket, throws it out here, caught, and it is good at about the 47 of Princeton by Anthony Williams. The Princeton defensive backs were a little upset. They thought he was out of bounds when he grabbed that one. He's going to be very close to 1st down yardage. They want to bring the chains across to take a look at it. I was afraid Kindred might have been across the line of scrimmage when he caught that ball, or threw that ball.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing myself. He was awfully close to being out of bounds there, but the official was right on top of the play.
So Anthony Williams, a senior, with a nice catch there that gets the Middies into Viking territory with 3:01 left, and the Vikings clinging to a 7-3 lead. You would think that one of these times, after a couple more passes, a draw play might be very effective in a situation like this. And again, in high school ball or college ball, either one, if you can pick up a 10-yarder, you can stop that clock.
63 yards passing for the Middies, which is a lot more than they usually get.
3rd down and about 6 inches to go. And obviously, at this point in the game, you still have 2 downs to pick up 1 yard here, as you're in 4-down territory for the rest of the night for the Middies. No more punts tonight. You can bet that. You cannot afford to give the ball back to the Viking offense, even though they have done very little out here tonight. You don't want to give them another chance. So right now, C.C. Kindred is going to have Carson Smiley in the backfield and Darryl Monte. 3rd down, 6 inches to go.
Middletown 4 for 13 in 3rd down situations. They've only got to go 6 inches this time.
Remember last time they had a situation like this, C.C. Kindred just took it straight up the middle. Let's see if Kindred will try that here.
Everyone in the stadium on both sides standing for this one.
Kindred 1st down as he got it to about the 46-yard line. So the Middies keep the drive alive. Now they got to get up and get going quickly. 2:48 is how much time we have left. And as you say, Greg, really there's a lot of time to run the ball. You've still got your timeouts and everything else. So Kindred gets the first down, but he's still got a lot of wide receivers. Chris Pinson and Denny Mason are in there, along with Kevin Cunningham. 12 for 32 yards now. 12 rushes, 32 yards for Kindred. We told you he's got 63 yards in the air. And he wants to put it up, batted down beautifully by Princeton that time. Josh Johnson knocked that one right back in Kindred.
They were going for the pass that was a touchdown pass last week against Fairfield. That was Chris Pinson, flanked out right. He was just doing a real quick down and in post going for the end zone. Here we see Kindred, quick three-step drop. There's Pinson. You can see him in the top left corner of your screen. It was knocked down that time, though.
And you also saw Josh Johnson's big paw reach up there and knock that ball away.
Now you get into a bad situation for the Middies. Second and long.
3 more downs to pick up that first down. And Kindred wants to throw it out here. He's got Aaron Williams down at the 27-yard line. Anthony Williams with a great catch, and he got clobbered, but held on to the ball.
Rashawn Hutchins really laid into him there at the end, but he was able to hang on to the ball. Great catch here by Williams.
So Anthony Williams has got 2 big passes here from Kindred on this drive, and the Middies are 27 yards away from winning this ball game. They have to score a touchdown. First down and 10. Again, Kindred looking out here, and again it is intercepted, or no, incomplete. Almost intercepted by Josh Johnson for the second straight time. The ball going that direction on the far side of the field. Johnson gets the paws up and almost picked that one off.
Johnson already, even in high school, is learning the technique of a defensive lineman. It's amazing that a high school defensive lineman knows that type of technique of being able to time out by Princeton right now, but Johnson has the technique when a defensive pass rusher, they're taught to rush the passer, but keep their head up. Just don't bury the ears and head for the quarterback. Keep your head up, and once you see the quarterback cock his arm like he's going to pass it, that's when you stop your rush and raise your hands. That's excellent teaching by the Princeton coaches, that their defensive linemen already know how to do that.
And first time he had no chance, he batted the ball straight down. The second time he tipped it in the air and was alert enough to look up, and I thought for a second that he might pick it off, but it hit the ground before he could grab it. So now, the Middies get a break here as Princeton decides to take a timeout. That gives Jim Playson time to talk to his quarterback and see what he wants to do. Anthony Williams has been a key on this drive. He's caught 2 passes, good for 29 yards. And he's been most of the offense on this particular series. So you will have Anthony Williams still in there at a wide receiver, along with Denny Mason. Also Chris Pinson there, the 3 wide receivers. The running backs are Darryl Monte, who's very speedy, and Carson Smiley. So you got 2 quick running backs, 3 quick wide receivers. Second and 10. Here's the pitch out. But nothing doing that time for Darryl Monte. He got maybe 3 yards. Now I think the Middies are going to call timeout with 1:47 left in the ball game.
They should have 1 timeout left, but if they don't get a first down here, it becomes a moot point, really.
They're at the 26. You're right. All they have to do is they still need about 7 yards, but obviously if they don't get it, Princeton's going to have time to just run that clock out. So it's do or die for the Middies, and John Calhoun, their big running back, the senior, 230, is coming back into the huddle for this play.
You got to figure maybe one of about 2 or 3 different plays here. The draw play has been wildly successful for Middletown. The quick 3-step drop by Kindred and a pass to one of his outside flankers has been fairly successful. And also occasionally Smiley has been able to break outside.
Calhoun is 11 carries and 42 yards on the night. Now he got most of that though in the first half.
This is the biggest 3rd down conversion for the Middies tonight. They're 5 for 14 so far in that category.
Obviously, if they don't get it here, they're in serious trouble, or at least if they can't pick up a good gainer here to get close to that first down marker. 2 more shots headed for the Middies, trailing Princeton 7-3, a minute 45 left here at Barnett Stadium tonight. Everybody on their feet on both sides of the stands. Kindred, straight back, looking at the flat, has a man out there, and it is incomplete, intended for Chris Pinson. Now you face 4th down and 8 for the Middies.
while you go for first down on the third down situation. Now look for the Middies probably to open it up, and they'll probably go with a pass downfield, trying to get all 6 points in one grab here.
Kindred has had some fairly decent pass protection tonight, and he has had some receivers open. And let's see if he'll come back to Anthony Williams, who has had the 2 big catches on this drive so far. He'll be flanked to the near side of the field, number 2. Far side of the field is Denny Mason.
Middletown's 2 for 2 on fourth down situations tonight, but remember, both of them were very short conversions.
They got to get this one to the 18. Here's Kindred throwing. Caught, first down, and out of bounds. Chris Pinson with the catch of the night. A minute 34 left. The Middies get 4 more shots at it. Well, for a team that doesn't pass much, they got the one that counted.
Now, instead of going downfield with the big play passes, you're seeing Middletown going back to short, more conservative passes, and they're working.
So first down at the 16, he did not get out of bounds. That's critical. A minute 24, and the clock is running. That was Pinson's first catch of the night, by the way. So first and 10 Middies. He's going to throw out there, caught, and let's see, did he get out of bounds? No. That was Denny Mason who caught the ball, but he did not get out of bounds. He did not get a first down either. A minute 5. Clock still ticking.
Clock is not a real big factor here. They're so close to the goal line. They still have a timeout to work with also. The clock should not be a factor.
Now Princeton wants a timeout. Princeton is going to take the time. 50 seconds left. The Middies are going wild out there in the stands and on the field. They think they've got a shot at it. By the way, they are 2nd and 1. So you can run Calhoun or one of the other big backs, Carson Smiley, up the middle here, get that first down.
Here comes the last play where Kindred comes out. Once again, the Middies going back to real short, conservative passes. Mason now has 3 catches, 40 yards on the night.
Larry Williams and Jason Whitehead came up to stop him. Would have been nicer for Middletown, of course, if he could have gotten out of bounds. But Mason with another big catch. So the Middies, who aren't known for their passing, Coach Mancuso was right. I think it was Coach Mancuso who told us before the game about the passing being important tonight, and it has been. They both had to bring it out, especially Middletown here in the 4th quarter.
Very interesting there. Middletown was going crazy when they called that last time out. Jim Place goes running out, and Place made a very good point right at the start of the huddle, calming his players down. They haven't done anything yet. They're still behind in this.
2nd and 1. They are at the Princeton 7-yard line. If you're Jim Place, you'd like to get about 4 yards if you're going to run the ball here and get it down close. 50 seconds left. Middletown trailing 7-3. Here's the handoff. It's Calhoun. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. He didn't get in, but it stops the clock down at about the 1-yard line. The draw play gets about 6 yards. So the Middies have it at about the Princeton 1, and I think Princeton is going to take, or Middletown's going to take time out. Look at the draw play there. Calhoun breaks it and gets through a couple tackles. Excellent blocking down to the 1-yard line.
Not only blocking, but Calhoun has been really silent since the middle of the 2nd quarter. Now they go back to their money running back here late in the game, and Calhoun was the guy who got that yardage on his own.
If you watch the Middletown players on the field, you'd think they've already scored. They better remember they've got 43 seconds left, and they haven't gotten into the end zone yet.
Calhoun has 251 yards on the season coming into tonight's game. He hasn't had a big game at all. He's had 48 yards, but they've been important yards, and none more important than that play right there.
And he'd like to, if he gets this carry for 1 yard, he gets to 300 yards on the season. He won't care about that, but he would have the touchdown. And if he can score here, he's already had 4 touchdowns this season.
And you can see the Middletown players on the sideline all holding their hands above their heads, getting ready for this last play. Hopefully, not necessarily the last play, but possibly the last offensive play of the Middies will have tonight, trying to punch it into the end zone.
Jim Place is going to have to hurry to get off the field here as he hustles to the sideline. You've got John Calhoun and Carson Smiley at the running backs. Calhoun directly behind Kindred here on 1st and goal at the 1. It's Calhoun. Touchdown, Middies! He stands all alone in the end zone. And how about that? 40 seconds left, and the Middies finally take the lead. A about a 55-yard drive. And don't forget, punting has been the key factor tonight. A fumbled punt led to Princeton's touchdown. And then after a great night of punting, Jeff Blaylock fell down on his last punt, and Middletown wound up with good field position. So Calhoun's 1-yard run, and the Middies are back in front 10-7. Brian Caldwell to add the crucial extra point that gives him a 3-point lead if he can make it. And it's good. So 40 seconds left in this wild one at Middletown, and the Vikings have fallen behind Middletown 10-7. The Middies, the host team, have taken the lead.
Big plays are important in any football game, and Princeton has won the battle of the big plays tonight. But it comes down to Middletown. We saw it all evening that Princeton has been leading, even though they've been getting nothing in the statistical columns. But now it's finally coming out. Middletown has been leading this game in the offensive and defensive categories. Finally, they're on top of the scoreboard also.
But keep in mind, you've got James Olverson and Freddie Brown back to take this kick. Now, if you're Jim Place, you face an interesting question here. Do you kick it deep or do you squib kick it? Olverson and Brown are speedy returners, and you don't want to give them a shot at breaking one all the way after you've stormed back to take the lead in a hard-fought contest. So let's see if Caldwell just squibs one down the middle, figuring that Princeton doesn't have the kind of pass offense that they need to take it 60 or 70 yards to score the winning touchdown or the tying field goal.
The Princeton side of the sidelines, their stands are really filing out now. People are starting to leave.
A line drive kick is caught by one of the linebackers who's going to lateral it back. And Olverson got out to the 35, but that's it. So Middletown stops the play there with 34 seconds to go. Looked like Robert Black over there was the man who lateraled it back.
There's the scoring drive for Middletown. And while we've been saying all evening that neither offense has been getting on track, Middletown has been averaging 267.7 total yards per game. Tonight, they've got 268 total yards in offense, so they're hitting their average right on the nose.
But Princeton is not a passing team, and they've got to throw it here. Here's the pass, incomplete for Olverson, and what pressure was put on Houston there in the backfield.
And the whole story all evening has been pressure on the Princeton runners and passers. And while I said that Middletown is hitting their average with 268 yards per game, Princeton has been averaging 310 total offensive yards all season long. Tonight, they've got 28 yards in total offense.
By the way, on that last play, Jermaine Trammell and John Duncan were the men that were pressuring Houston, and he has gotten up very slowly the last 2 or 3 times. Only 11 seconds left in this one. And Duncan's in there again. He got away from him. He's going to have to run with the ball out to the 40, 4 seconds, 3 seconds, 2, 1, and that's the ball game. Princeton was out of timeouts, and the ball game is over. The Middletown Middies, number 3 in the state, knock off number 2 Princeton, 10-7.
It finally came down to the total offense. We talked about it all during the game, how Princeton, how could they be hanging on to the...
Hold on, I think the officials signaled to Coach Place to get everybody off the field. There's a penalty maybe on this play.
Looks like Middletown may have had 12 men on the field.
Yeah, I just saw the official pick up a yellow hanky, which I had not seen come into the play. So hold everything, folks. 0 seconds on the clock, but it doesn't matter if the defense made a penalty here.
Right.
The offense will get one more shot.
Jim Place wants to call timeout. I believe his team should have one more timeout.
Boy, would that be a disaster if you got a 12th man on the field, they got one more play and threw a touchdown pass.
Call Sam Weiss.
So just as everybody on Middletown was about to run out and celebrate in the middle of the field, they have to get them off, and the ball now is at the Princeton 45. And still, from what we've seen of Lamont Houston, he's not exactly the deep passer, and you can believe the Middletown secondary will be playing back at about their own 10-yard line on this one, trying to prevent that big pass play. Now, I bet Jim Place is out there counting heads right about now. And we can assure you there are just 11 players on the field.
Middletown's going to put 4 defensive backs back. Looks like they're going to rush the passer with 4 people. Then they've got 7 defensive backs in the game.
And the deepest ones are back at about the 20-yard line. They got 3 of them back there. They're going to let him put it up. Here he cranks it deep down the middle. Going to be intercepted probably, and it is. Or at least it's incomplete. And the ball game is over as the ball rolls free in the end zone. And the Middletown Middies, I don't think there are any flags this time, and it is over. And now they can throw their helmets in the air and celebrate as Jim Place's Middies knock off the Princeton Vikings 10-7.
And now in the GMC race, Middletown has beaten possibly 2 of the 3 toughest teams in this conference besides themselves. They've beaten Fairfield last week 21-14. Now they've beaten Princeton 10-7. Now they've only got one more big team to play, Lakota.
And that should be a real showdown. Lakota had a great year last year and had a big game with the Middies last season. So Lakota and the Middletown Middies are going to have to do battle probably for the GMC title. So very quickly, when you go back and look at this game, Greg, Middletown did dominate, but for a long time it looked like they would not win this contest.
That's right. Big plays make a big difference in any game, and it looked like Princeton. I was writing down the final totals here because I was anticipating a Princeton victory as we came down towards the end there, and I was writing down big plays make the difference in some games. But it finally all equaled out, and probably the Middletown people are saying that, you know, justice was finally done because they were winning the game on the statistical side but losing it in the big plays. But finally the statistics won out this time, and the Middies come away with a W.
And I think the thing that really hurt Princeton, they had some big penalties there in the 4th quarter when they got good field position around midfield. When they had to punt, they were back in their own territory. But Denny Evans made a big punt return there toward the end that gave Middletown the ball at about the 43. So they only needed that 57-yard drive, and John Calhoun with the final touchdown. As once again our final score here, the Middletown Middies pull it out with a touchdown in the final minute. 10-7, the Middies win. For Greg Christopher, this is Bob Long saying so long for the high school game of the week on Miami University Television.